What is up, everybody? It is Alex, the Millennial Builder, and in today's video, we are starting a new series of what we're going to call the Hot Seat Interview, and we are going to interview not only construction business owners, but business owners in general. We're going to ask them a series of questions. In today's video, we are going to ask 5 or 6 main questions. Today we have Kurt. He's actually my electrician who builds all the houses that I do. And the questions we're going to talk to him a little bit about is owning an electrical business. If you're a young person thinking about being an electrician, he's going to talk a little bit about that. If you're a homeowner looking to hire an electrician, he's going to talk a little bit about that. And we're going to discuss whether Milwaukee, DeWalt, or Makita is the best tool. Thanks for joining us.
Looking back, things that I wish I would have known, that's a real tough question. There's a lot of things that you just kind of learn on the fly. I'm fairly new to the game in regards to being a business owner. I did quite a bit of freelance work, if you want to call it, when I was getting through high school and my early college years. But once I dove into the full-time business aspect of it, the time management was probably the biggest hurdle for me. I've got a young family at home, and the time management portion is difficult. When you're playing the office person, the receptionist, the bidder, the installer, bringing all that stuff in together and trying to manage your time day to day so you're actually productive. That's one thing that I kind of just didn't really think about. I knew it was going to consume a lot of my time, but I didn't realize how much time it was actually going to consume. So I think that was the one thing that I wish I would have had a little better insight on. If I had a family member reach out in regards to a hiring situation, not only for electricians, I think this holds true across the board for trades. Because I know quite a bit of plumbers, HVAC guys, a little bit of everything. From experience, what I've noticed, just because there's a cheap side to everybody. Everybody's looking for a deal, and I'm one of them. But I've learned that that's not necessarily the best path to travel down. I've took the low bid on some projects I've done myself, and I've had some major issues because of that. So I think the number one thing is to go into your project with a budget, stick to your budget, but don't cut back on contractors sacrificing quality because of their price. Just because they're $1,000 cheaper than another electrician. If they're gonna run your project smoother and they're gonna have a higher level of customer communication, and there's aspects to that it's gonna make your life easier. I've been in situations where I've brought in a contractor. One of them was for a chimney project, my wood stove, and he was the lowest bid, and it was a year of headaches that I had to deal with. So that's one of the main things. Don't just get concentrated on price. You also want to feel out your contractors. Call multiple contractors. You can get a lot out of a business owner or a project manager by just having a conversation with them on the phone. That goes a long ways. You can get a good read on an individual without actually meeting them in person. But that's a good start. Call multiple contractors and go with your gut. If you got a good feeling about the contractor, if they're up front, you feel like they're honest, and they're willing to go the extra mile for you. From the get-go, from the design and the bidding portion of the project, that's pretty important. Electricals, it's a great industry. Like anything, it takes a lot of hard work. I would say to anybody looking to get into it, I would try to job shadow early on. If you can get in with a contractor in high school, you know, a lot of contractors are requiring workers to be 18, but even when you get to that point, I wouldn't just go rushing off and going to school and jumping into it and getting your 2-year degree or certificate or whatever it may be. I would take a few years and just follow an electrician around. If you can get in there for, you know, even if you're making 12, 13 bucks an hour, just to kind of feel it out, so you don't waste a bunch of time and money pursuing that degree and then getting into the field and realizing it's not what you want. That's, I think, the biggest thing, is to really make sure that you can spend a little time in the field. I didn't do that. I luckily enjoy what I do, but I know a lot of individuals that did the same thing I did and didn't like it so much. So I think that's the most important thing. Biggest mistake I've ever made. I've never made any mistakes. No. Everybody makes mistakes. It's how you manage your mistakes and prevent them from happening again. And the 7 P's come into play on this one. And the 7 P's I've been following for a long time. And that is proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And honestly, you can pretty much keep yourself out of some hot water just by keeping that in the back of your mind, because things you do up front save you a ton of time and headache down the road. So that's one thing I always kind of keep in mind, and I pass that along to the guys when I can, especially some of my workers and stuff. It's kind of our entertainment. So the 7 P's, got to remember it. Client expectation management is a tough one, but the biggest thing for me is what I've learned to do is to always remember that every customer is different. Every customer has different needs, and you become a better business owner and a better, you operate a business and treat your customers to the highest extent when you realize that, and you realize that some customers you got to spend a little bit more time with. Some, you know, are a little bit more easygoing, and the sooner you can pick up on that and pick up on what they're looking for at the end of the project, the easier everything is going to go. The major thing is to keep that transparency. I've learned it's better to ask more questions than less. The more information you can get from them, the better off it's going to be. That helps you kind of bring all that stuff together to figure out what their expectations are at the end of that project, because there are many homeowners and customers out there that don't necessarily just come out and just hand it over to you on a silver platter. You got to kind of poke and prod for it sometimes. Milwaukee all day. I have ran Panasonic, I've ran Makita, I've ran DeWalt, and the first Milwaukee tool I bought was an Impact, and ever since I bought that old Impact, I'll never go back to anything else. That's honestly the only package of tools that can suit the needs of every single trade we have. And the stuff they have on the electrical end is phenomenal. So yeah, that's, you know, the rest is pretty much just garbage if you ask me.